It's fascinating watching other people's, like complete strangers' opinion on what's happening with the AAA gaming industry because, again, I'm told by people at work, I'm told by people on a couple, like two people on Twitter, and even in my real life, like even people who do not watch movies, do not play games. Really, they're not gamers, but I can tell them what's happening, and they just agree. They're like, yeah, I mean, I can agree that having yet another prequel and another sequel and another remake and another remaster, if you keep doing that, people get sort of sick and fucking tired of it. I mean, I guess movies had a certain similar problem, but movies and TV shows tend to chase trends. Like when Walking Dead was a thing, you had so many fucking zombie movies, zombie TV shows, zombie games. And before that, it was so many fucking sci-fi. Well, I think before that, everything had to be like reality TV, right? Everything had to be a telenovela and drama, and this is what made Stargate Universe fall apart. Because in the beginning, it was just Battlestar Galactica, and well, no, that was before, even before that. Like you had Caprica, which is a continuation, or it's effectively a prequel to Battlestar Galactica, but it was a teen drama, and it's like, who the fuck is gonna watch this? But again, that was the trend, and that's what many TV shows and movies were chasing. So we see this situation in entertainment where trends and genres are milked to death, but and even after the whole, like, then there was the next superhero fucking movie. But yeah, people seem to understand this, even if they're not, don't like religiously watch movies or play games. So it's odd that this is just the path, and the entertainment industry is taking. They're like, no, milk franchise, disregard consumer, just shut out products, lose more money, and maybe make back some of it through ESG and some of it through government grants, right? But we see that this is just not sustainable. So I was given this video. I think this was his first video of this channel. Yeah, man already has 30K subscribers. Like, man, send something
I'm wanting to give
way.
a perspective.
And, actually, I have a little cheese. I use to avoid ads. Well, I don't think he's really has
Hey everyone,
ads on his, but
welcome to my very first ever YouTube video. I'm wanting to give a perspective of how I see the current state of modern gaming as a casual gaming enthusiast. Just to introduce myself, I'm a married man with a full-time job, and I'm dedicated to a lot of various other commitments in my life. While gaming is definitely my favorite hobby, I don't always have the time to enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's usually the story of most people that grew up playing games around the golden age of gaming, so the early 2000s, 2010s is now you have responsibilities as an adult, and you can you try to squeeze in games as much as you can, but that just kind of is what it is.
There are times when I'll go weeks without touching a game, and then there are stretches where I can squeeze in maybe a few hours every day. This is the reality for many of us, trying to balance work, life, and the hobby we love, gaming, as a regular, everyday guy. I'm not one of those hardcore streamers or YouTubers who can dedicate countless hours year-round to gaming, but I do enjoy watching other content creators who live and breathe this stuff.
I'm glued to a chair!
That's not quite my reality though, and I know I'm not alone in this. So in this video, I want to represent the casual gamers out there, people like me who balance a love for gaming with everything else going on in their...
Yeah, and there's lots of people that fall like casuals are fine, because again, most casuals probably grew up the way I did, where you never really hung out with friends in school all that much. In like middle school or high school, you're like, oh well, I want to play that Halo Reach game that came out, or might as well. And you would spend your summer instead of going outside. You're like, holy shit, 3 whole months to be sitting on my ass playing Halo 3 on Legendary. Fuck yeah, brother. And eating food and maybe occasionally going outside if I'm told. Right? Like, yeah, the parents that try to pry you away from games. Yeah, I think most adults that grew up playing older games sort of fit in this category. So, I mean, yeah. So, I don't usually diss casual. And, well, one, I don't expect people to game like I game, because I'm autistic. But, I mean, I don't diss casuals either, because, you know, you kind of got to be a responsible adult.
Their lives. I hope to give a balanced view on controversial perspectives, and also hope I could shed some light on what I think are very important topics that could impact the future of gaming. Alright, first things first, and this is the breaking point that finally pushed me to make this video.
Hey?
I want to dive into the current state of AAA gaming.
You were the chosen ones!
Pretty
If
much.
you do a quick Google search, you'll find that AAA games are defined as high-budget, high-profile titles, typically produced and distributed by major, well-known publishers. But for me, as someone who...
Yeah, so brands, big brands, brand recognition, lots of money, lots of influence. Yeah, I'd say that's an alright definition. I mean, it's mainly grassroots, and it might change, but yeah, I'd say that's just about it.
Mid-20s who grew up playing some truly incredible games from these big developers. AAA used to mean something more. It stood for trust, originality, and most importantly, innovation.
Yeah.
I think back to 2007 when I went on a Christmas holiday with my family in South Africa. I very quickly discovered Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty Modern Warfare at a local games shop. I was completely hooked. It probably wasn't the best for me as I was 9 years old at the time, but I fell in love with these games. While most kids will want to spend their summer vacation outside having fun, all I wanted to do was stay inside and play these amazing titles on my dad's MacBook, which he had installed.
What was my first? Because when we had our Xbox 360, that was even before then, we had a computer that we would always just, this was back when you could rent games at the library. And I can't really remember what was my first. Like, I remember the Star Trek game. I remember Star Wars X-Wing. Obviously Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. Empire at War. Yeah, this was before we even had our first Xbox. Was this even before we had our Nintendo? Yeah. I think that was our first console. But yeah, like if we're talking the Xbox 360 era, right? I think that was around 2007. Like, I don't know, my brother's friend had a profile on there. Like, cause before I even had my own profile, I just play on my brother's until his friend, I don't know, had his, and I just changed the name and made his friend's profile my profile. And ever since then, you know, I played the game, but like 99 Nights was the shit. Because we would just get a bunch of demos, right? And that was our introduction to games. I ended up just buying some of the games that were demoed, like Overlord, Time Shift. I think there was that Fractured game, but yeah.
Installed Windows on just so I could play. Those games weren't just entertainment, they were groundbreaking. From that point on, I had complete trust in AAA developers and publishers, and rightfully so. I'd even look for the Ubisoft, Activision, Sega, Blizzard, or EA logos on game covers or in magazines, knowing that they are a sign of quality. Those logos were like a seal of approval, a way to gauge whether I was making a good decision when getting hyped for or even picking a game. Do you remember that feeling of seeing
Yeah, I know friends that if they even seen the word Bungie on the box, they'd buy the game just off the brand alone, right? And this was the power of good marketing, of putting out a good product. Like when people see your name, they just know, oh, there's going to be quality in this bitch. And well, things are a lot different now. But man, that was the shit. Like the golden age of gaming is what I called it, right? When you could literally rot your brain playing. Like I'd be watching TV on one of our TVs, playing fucking Halo on the other. Had my goddamn Game Boy DS. Was it Advance? One of those in my hand, listening to the fucking Check It Out by Nicki Minaj on the radio. Those were the fucking days. Now, I'm a fucking fat adult. Yeah, I'd say things have progressed the right way.
seeing those logos pop up when loading a game?
Challenge everything.
That rush of excitement, knowing you were about to dive into one of the best gaming experiences of your life. I do. But unfortunately, over the years, something has been happening, and it didn't happen overnight. It's been a slow, gradual change, like watching someone age or noticing yourself slowly gaining weight. It's happening right in front of us, but we don't fully grasp how much things have changed until one day we look in the mirror, or even at an old photo, and the difference is startling. Over the years, the trust, originality, and innovation that once defined AAA companies has been slowly fading. Seeing logos from developers I used to admire now fills me with skepticism, even a strong urge to avoid their games. What I find surprising is how patient and forgiving gamers have been towards AAA companies for so long. A great example of this has been the Battlefield franchise, particularly with the launch of Battlefield 5 in November 2018. This is the first game in the franchise that was surrounded.
Well, again, because at one point, like, even when it started going downhill, people just bought games, and played casually. Like, people aren't as conscientious consumers as they are. And again, companies, at least when it started going down, wasn't putting time, money, and effort to shove ideology into their games and impose it onto you, the consumer, like you're 5. And then when you're like, how about you make a good fucking game for once? They treat you like some troll on the internet, and they try to act like you're the minority. The numbers show that no one's buying these games nowadays. And it was Battlefield 5 when, the CEO was like, oh, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And people took their advice. But you can even show Battlefield 1, and that was a fine game. Like, me and my friends had fun playing this. Battlefield 1 was fine.
Franchise, particularly with the launch of Battlefield 5 in November 2018. This is the first game in the franchise that was surrounded by quite a bit of controversy and received a lot of mixed and negative reactions despite being part of a well-loved, long-standing series of games. Although I am only talking about the Battlefield IP here, you'll probably notice similar patterns with other major AAA companies and their once revered franchises. Battlefield 5 faced backlash after its reveal trailer, primarily due to the perceived historical inaccuracies. The inclusion of female soldiers in a World War II game led some fans to criticize the game as unrealistic, sparking debate over political correctness. DICE, the developer...
Not particularly. This is what sparked... Because again, this was where the implementation of ideology was coming. You have a woman with a prosthetic, like obviously females fought in World War II. Like, this isn't something we didn't know. There's such a minuscule rate, but that's not why people... That was the oversimplification of the problem. The problem was ideology. Like, they put someone who has a prosthetic arm, and you see them just bashing people's heads in, and it looked like fantasy. Now, I don't care for like historical inaccuracies, right? Like I played Battlefield 2142, or was it 2042? 2142, the one that came out in 2008. Like that was just a futuristic dystopian game that actually absolutely wasn't historical, and honestly I prefer those types of games. But yeah, I mean, but they used to pride themselves when making their battlefields that they tried to make it as historically accurate as possible and add, historical characters and historical events, right? And even if they try to turn away from that, it's fine. But the problem is they started treating the consumer like, no, you're wrong. Shut the hell up and buy our game. Or if you don't like it, don't buy it. Which is, even if you have just this small minority of retards that are your consumers that were legitimately mad that there was a female in the game, that's not how you speak to your consumers. Like, I don't care what, groundbreaking ideology you have in your fucking head. You're a company, and the point of view is to put out a fucking product. Like, the minute you start giving the these minuscule retards the spotlight, well, okay, what the fuck are you doing? How about you just make a good product? Like, what the hell are you doing?
The developer responded by standing firm on their creative choices, which only escalated the controversy. Further fueling the fire, a DICE executive famously responded to criticism with, "If you don't like it, don't buy it."
Yep. And see, the problem is people took their advice. No matter, even if this is true, right? This is not how you as a company act. Like, what are you, 12? Like, again, the company only has the power to meet consumer expectation. They could have been like, yeah, well, we're stepping away from historical. People would have been like, okay. And like, yeah, you'd have those small minority of people that are like, well, I don't want to buy the game, but that's just how it is, right? That's Nia telling me not to buy Battlefield 5 3 years ago was one of the best decisions they ever made for me. Oh, God.
Does this remind you of anything? This alone
Yeah.
caused a portion of the fanbase to not buy into Battlefield 5, including myself. The game's marketing was seen
Me
as
neither.
completely unfocused. The reveal trailer, with its chaotic and almost cartoonish tone, confused fans about whether this game was a serious, historically themed World War II shooter. This lack of clear direction left many of us unsure of what to expect from Battlefield 5. Upon release, Battlefield 5 felt incomplete, missing key features such as the promised Firestorm Battle Royale mode and Tides of War live service content, which were delayed. Other promised features like the Combined Arms co-op mode were also absent at launch, making the game feel quite bare bones compared to previous entries like
Yeah, I mean, they also took away features that were a staple in previous Battlefield games, which you gotta wonder why they did that. Like, they really wanted to push this ideology, but the product was just lesser, and they demanded more money. Like, you're gonna see this pattern with most companies, right? It's like they push a bad product, and they use ideology as the shield. Like, this is just a staple. Like, we can't we can't even pretend that this isn't happening.
Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4. When we finally got these features, they were apparently not worth the wait. Now this is what it is. And we've seen many glorious redemption stories from poor launches over the years. So I'll give it to DICE that Battlefield 5 is a decent enough game to play now. But upon launch, it disappointed quite a lot of us. In summary, and in line with my topic, Battlefield 5's launch was plagued by controversy, miscommunication, missing features, and technical problems, leading to a mixed reception and pretty disappointing sales. Now, this can happen. It can happen to any game, and there are some awesome redemption stories, like I said before. But there's not supposed to be a pattern. There's not supposed.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're supposed to push the product. Like, if people have a problem with the product, like, if it's constructive criticism, you give them a constructive answer. Again, what they gave was a deconstructive answer, as of if you don't like it, don't buy it. And I didn't buy it because they said that, even though I was one of the people who Again, I don't. Historical things are fine, right? But again, I know more Greek mythology, playing Age of Mythology, than I ever learned in school because I liked playing games and I hated school. But I mean, I'm not 5, I'm not 12. Like, I'm fine with looking games like Battlefield 2142, which is just this dystopian, fantastical, futuristic situation. Like, that's what I prefer. But if the point is to be historical, which is what they branded themselves on being, and what they told their consumers that they were being. But then they had Looney Tune ass bullshit like that, and people called out, and you told them not to buy it. Well, okay, you lose me automatically, right? And even if it was a good game, even if Battlefield 5 was the best fucking game, God has better than Elden Ring. Like, the minute you start being pompous and telling your consumers and believing you're better than the consumers, you lose me anyway. Like, I don't like. I'm not going to fund people that hate me. Like, I'm not going to fund people that build products on hate, that hate their consumers, right? Even if it's the best game ever. So that's warning to you. If you make a good game, you shut the fuck up and shove it out, and shut the hell up about ideology.
Supposed to happen to every single game on what was once a beloved IP from a company that is known for making incredible games in the past. If you're going downhill, if you are on track to death, survival instinct is supposed to kick in and you're supposed to turn around and go the other way. Anyway, now,
Yeah,
in
that's
line
not
with what I've been
happening.
talking about with Battlefield, I want you to think back and see if you can spot any of these trends with other IPs from AAA developers over the years. Take Anthem by the one and only BioWare. The studio once celebrated for the very successful Mass Effect and Dragon Age franchises. Anthem launched with very confusing marketing, a lack of in-game content, and pretty terrible technical issues that quickly drove players away. If I remember correctly, players didn't.
If I remember correctly, even the team themselves didn't know what kind of fucking game they were making until I think it was the game showcase, or was it E3? One of those. Then they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the type of game." Like, it was so poorly mismanaged. And again, you can blame EA. I blame both EA and BioWare. Now, was it equally? No, because everyone hated EA, and I hate EA more off principle. But again, but even before Anthem, you had BioWare, Mass Defect Andromeda that nobody asked for, and I personally believe is when ideology and what we'd consider wokeness first stepped into the game. And I guess it was an okay game mechanically, but I never cared to play it. Again, it wasn't Mass Effect, right? And this is where we're at. We're like, okay, they have the name Mass Effect, but it's not Mass Effect. And this is what we have for like Battlefield. They have the name, but that Battlefield 5 just wasn't Battlefield. And I even gave Anthem its fair shake. Like, this is the type of shit I'm into. Like, I play Warframe, like this. And Anthem looked like a good game, and the abilities and stuff looked cool. Didn't much care for the rarity system. I think that was just an additive, but I mean, it was fine. But again, I just cannot drag myself to go back to the game, and that's the problem, right? People like I will gladly play like Overlord and Overlord 2. I will gladly play like 99 Nights. I will go back to older games gladly, but what's a game in the past 4 years that you actively see yourself going back to 10, 15, 20 years from now? Like, you really need to struggle to think of a game. Like, maybe Elden Ring? if there's any DLC or if your friends are like, well, if the gaming crash happens and all you have, or the like Warframe, if it continues being as good as it is, like I always have Warframe to fall back on, but that's the question you have to ask. It's like, what game that came out in the past 4 years? Like, I played the fuck out of Black Myth Wukong, but if it had a DLC, I'd go back to it. I mean, you really struggle to be like, okay, what games would I go back to play that came back 10 years in the future? Like, what game, like you have kids, what games would you have your kids play when they grow up and they can hold a mouse and keyboard or a controller, right? That came out in the past 4 years. Very few fucking games.
And pretty terrible technical issues that quickly drove players away. If I remember correctly, players didn't even come to it because of how bad the gameplay looked compared to the launch trailer or the gameplay trailer. Mass Effect Andromeda is another prime example of this. Plagued by terrible animations, off-putting character design, and a lackluster storyline that severely damaged the franchise's reputation. Then there's Assassin's Creed Unity, which was infamous for its buggy and nearly unplayable launch. As for Halo,
yeah, like that was the time where games came out buggy, broken, unplayable. They're like, we'll fix it later. And I do believe that came at the behest of, Bethesda games where, like Skyrim and, Oblivion, where the bugs are kind of charming. But those were also just better games. And that was the mindset.
Halo, and I don't really want to dive deep into this, but it saddens me how 343 Industries have mishandled the series through ego, greed, and short-sightedness. For me, one of the sad ones was the decline of Bethesda with Fallout 76, which released in a very broken and unfinished state. It was missing NPCs, had constant bugs, and very poor performance. It left us fans quite frustrated with how Bethesda handled such a beloved series. Even after AAA companies have tarnished the reputations of so many once beloved IPs, we as casual gamers still find ourselves getting hyped over their new announcements. Well, at least many of us did until recently.
Oh, yeah.
I vividly remember after watching the Battlefield 2042 trailer in 2021, I told my friend that this Battlefield is it. This is where DICE and EA will redeem themselves. They have to. Despite the numerous missteps and disappointments I experienced between Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042, myself and a lot of gamers still maintained our patience and trust, believing that a AAA company, DICE, would finally deliver, that AAA companies could still be trusted. Unfortunately, the game fell short. My friend and I ended up refunding Battlefield 2042 within just 10 minutes of playing it. I'm focusing on
To my knowledge, that game was unplayable. Like, it's better now. But yeah, that game was unplayable. It was so fucking buggy and broken. Now again, I tapped out of Battlefield mainly after 2142. I went back to play Battlefield 1 with friends, but I'd say I was legitimately tapped out after 2142. But yeah, and it's this idea of just riding the same IPs and the same franchises for years. And it's like they know they have their brand. And I don't know what happened. Maybe they brought in new people, or maybe they're like, oh, well, we can kind of flaunt this product because our previous ones were successful, and we can just ride the projected sales right off the previous successes and at least break even. But again, now then you'll probably get into it. It's a very different prospect.
Battlefield mainly because it has been my go-to franchise in the past. I loved it. I was an OG Battlefield 2 player. I was unfortunately too young when Battlefield 1942 came out, but I thoroughly enjoyed the Battlefield 2 experience. Bad Company 1 and 2 were absolute gems, introducing the destruction mechanic that truly set Battlefield apart from other FPS games. I remember growing up in South Africa at Battlefield 3, which I played on 27 to 28 FPS. I think I clocked over 900 hours playing like that on my old PC. I love that game so much. I'm sure many of you who are old enough can relate.
Oh my god, that gun just brought back like hundreds of fucking memories. Like, such a beautiful fucking game. Like, again, I don't think this game really had. Did it have a campaign? I don't think it did. But again, obviously, this game was chasing the trend of, what was it? It's not XCOM. I can't remember the name of the game because it was this trend of having futuristic, dystopian, apocalyptic games. What the fuck was it? Whatever, but this game was chasing that trend, and I fucking loved it.
To this experience with other beloved franchises. Maybe you were a die-hard Halo fan, or you couldn't wait to see what Ubisoft would deliver after the experience of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, only to find disappointment year after year. The state of the majority of AAA gaming is devastating. There are only a few exceptions, companies that seem to still have their fans' best interests at heart.
Yeah.
Even among these, cracks and doubts remain. Rockstar Games and From Software are notable exceptions, but today I want to focus on what I grew up defending, admiring, and loving:
Far Cry 3.
Ubisoft. I used to brag to my friends about how much I loved Ubisoft and their games, urging them to join me in this passion. But now I find myself checking the news and stock prices to see if they finally pulled the plug on their live support. It's taking me to this place where I want to see Ubisoft crumble and go bankrupt. They've made me feel stupid for supporting them, treating casual gamers like we're not in the know somehow, or we live under a rock. Usually someone like me, just a casual gamer, doesn't pick up on the behind-the-scenes politics of game companies.
Yeah, and see, that means they don't want you as a consumer. Like, what they want are pay pigs, people that will lap up whatever ideology, whatever bullcrap, whatever they want, shove out, and if you're not the pay pig, they don't want you. You know, and this is what many game companies nowadays are doing. Again, I think the last decent Ubisoft shoot, like I played Ghost Recon, it was a decent game. I played Assassin's Creed up until Black Flag, but yeah, I mean, other than buying the Beyond Good and Evil 1 and playing it on my own, I mean, if Beyond Good and Evil 2 ever fucking releases, I mean, I'll probably play it for like an hour and a half and probably hate it and probably refund it. Like, I swear, Steam's gonna come after me for as many games as I refunded. Like, I refunded Redfall. I refunded 2142. I refunded, not Star Wars Jedi Knights. I think it was Outcast. No, not Outcast. No, it was after the Fallen Order one. Yeah, it's like, I'm just refunding so many fucking games. Like, they're gonna come the fuck after me. And again, Steam allows you to do this, right? And I think if many other, like if you, Xbox and PlayStation acted like Steam companies would get their shit together. They're like, what? People can refund our games. And to Sony's credit, if the game's too bad, they will let you refund it. That's what happened with Cyberpunk when it first came out. But they put time, money, and effort to make that game good. And hell, if it ever drops, I think it's like $39.99. If it ever drops to like $15, $20, I'll probably pick it up and mod it. But yeah, I mean, they don't want you as the consumer. They don't want you. They want pay pigs. They want shills. They want, consultants to give them the ESG and to give them the government grants, right? Like, you are not the target audience. And that's the problem. Again, you have a company that's not putting out the product the consumer wants, but they demand to exist regardless. That's where we're at.
I'm just living my life, playing whatever games I think look cool and enjoyable. But locking me out of gaming content at launch with superficial pricing, throwing innovation out the window, flooding your YouTube promotional videos with obvious bot comments and likes.
If you look at every single positive comment, they are within 4.9 to 5.1 thousand likes. And every single one of them is being made by an individual with a first name, last name, number combination.
This has been the final straw for me.
Yeah, and again, that's also like they have the bots, they have the ideologues. Like, again, I'm leaning more and more into the dead internet theory. It's like what interactions are with actual people when you go clickety clack on the keyboard? Because when in the early 2000s, you knew you were talking to Titty Slayer 97. Because, again, they didn't have this ability to bot likes and the bot comments. But now you just don't know, and that just, it fucks the landscape. Because now they're getting this perceived idea and this perceived notion that this is what the consumer wants, and you are the minority when it's really just a bunch of bots and a bunch of programs and a bunch of shills defending it. And you see this again when I look at like articles. There would always be that one bot. Like, there would always be that one person that will defend, and they'll go after even other people and just defend the product. And you're like, this can't be real.
Last name, number combination.
Yeah.
This has been the final straw for me. It's disheartening to watch a company that once felt like a beacon of creativity and passion turn into what seems like a cash grab machine. Remember when Ubisoft used to take risks, crafting immersive worlds filled with depth and rich storytelling? Games like Prince of Persia and Splinter Cell felt innovative, and they challenged the norms of gaming. Now it feels like they're just recycling formulas, relying on the same IPs or brands year after year, all while trying to squeeze more and more money out of their fans. And it's not just the content that's lacking, it's the connection. I remember the excitement of discovering new worlds and characters that felt alive and engaging. But now it seems like the focus is solely on monetization strategies, season passes, microtransactions, and limited time events that prioritize profit over player experience.
Yeah, and this is the reason, because, like, they've grown so big, so large, that they are forced to appeal to the widest possible audience, even if the market doesn't reflect. It's like, it's clear the market just wants clear, concise projects and not yet another Assassin's Creed or yet another Star Wars Ubisoft slop, or yet another ideologically pushed game that exists primarily to suck up government grants. But for some reason, they just refuse to do that because they're risk averse, and they hire their consultants. They put time, money, and effort to go against the interest of the gamer, and they utilize ideology and bots to defend their bullshit. Well, again, what's happening to Ubisoft is the effect of that. Like, it's just, this is, the whole gaming scene is unsustainable. And it's like, the consumer knows this, the company knows this, the consumer knows the company knows this, the company knows the consumer knows that the company knows this. But they are forced to do this, right? And at one point, like, yeah, I mean, it has to fail, it has to succeed, it has to burn, to where from the ashes the phoenix can rise.
Joy of gaming has been overshadowed by this relentless push for profit. Now, I know this is being said all over YouTube. I've come across videos of this before, but I am coming to you as a casual gamer. A lot of us are only discovering this in the last few months. Some of us maybe the last few years. Some of us even today on this video, we're discovering these things. The thing that I find crazy is with the grace that we show these companies, we still tend to trust their trailers and their adverts. You guys have promised so much through your gameplay trailers, your cinematic trailers, all of that has just not been there. I think the first case of this, where I truly experienced it, was the first trailer that came out for The Division. I remember looking at this thinking this is truly a next-gen experience.
yeah, like
I
the
am
trailer
looking
was
forward to
amazing.
this. This is going to be great. And then actually watching gameplay footage after it. And what I find strange is over the years, because we're so used to this as gamers, we have normalized this. We expect it. We watch a gameplay trailer and we're like, okay, I know it's going to be worse on launch,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. We just accept it. After all of this, for quite a while, I believe that Ubisoft had the potential to return to its roots, to listen to us fans and reignite that spark of creativity. The thing that drove this thought was, don't they want to make money? Are they not tired of losing money? But apparently their idea of making money is very different. Everyone is trying to be the new Fortnite with
Yeah.
their battle passes, with their...
They want to try to be Fortnite, but they don't want to make a game like Fortnite. And I don't care for Fortnite, but I mean, it's popular. People play it, and it's self-evident because now everything has a season pass. Everything has egregious microtransaction. Everything has a daily log on. Like, you just see AAA games across the board implementing these things. But the products are bad. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the season pass idea was added before any of the gameplay or any of the mechanics. They're like, season pass first, add everything else later. And that's the problem. Like, people don't like trend chasing, even if, like, I don't like the season pass idea, right, in Warframe, but it's just unintrusive and it gives you items that you don't really fucking need. But it's like, again, it's just chasing a trend, but it's least egregious than any other game. Like, I cared very little about the season pass idea in, like, the first Descendant, but even if you didn't buy it, you still got something from it, right? And yeah, and then this is the future of entertainment, the future of gaming, milking IPs, chasing trends, copying homework, right? Attacking the consumers, acting like they're just a small fringe minority of trolls, and acting like the ideologues and the bots and people who don't even exist, this audience that doesn't even fucking exist, is your consumer, right? That's the future, apparently.
DLCs, what they paid for.
It's the future until it fails. Then I don't know what the fuck it is.
Content, their add-ons, especially on single-player games, which makes no flippin' sense.
Yeah.
So I used to believe this. I definitely don't believe this anymore. I don't believe that there's actually a way for Ubisoft to come back. A wise, bold man once said,
I believe you cannot reason a person out of a position that they did not reason themselves into.
in this case, the person is a large AAA company. Greed, ego, and toxic positivity that permeates their messaging doesn't stem from reason. They come from a disconnection with the very players who once supported them. It's frustrating to see how these companies prioritize profits over passion. The decisions being made seem driven by a boardroom mentality rather than a genuine love for gaming. When the focus shifts to maximizing shareholder value instead of crafting meaningful experiences, the heart of what makes gaming special gets lost. But
Yeah, and I just kind of disagree with the idea. Like, at first I was like, yeah, if they didn't reason themselves into a position, you can't reason them out of it. But yeah, they absolutely 100% have reasoned themselves into this position, right? I mean, at least the problem I have, something I have a problem with is ideology. Like, their reasons will be, oh, it's just video games. Like, they'll appeal to triviality until you actually pressure them on it. And then they'll be like, oh, well, why do you care? And it's like, well, I care because you care. Then they'll be like, okay, well, yeah, it's happening, but it's a good thing because we're on the right side of history and it's the right ideology. Like, they absolutely reason themselves into these positions, right? And it's also the grift. It's their job. They make money to do it. Now, it might not be the reasoning like your mother would use, right? It might not be the reasoning of anyone with a fully functioning frontal cortex, but yeah, they absolutely reason themselves into these positions. I mean,
despite these frustrations with the AAA landscape, I'm actually quite grateful for indie developers and smaller game studios.
Oh, absolutely.
This year, in my opinion, has been one of the best years for gaming
Yeah, it was
that
a
I've
fun game to
experienced
watch.
in a long time. For the first time in years, I actually find myself with multiple games on my Steam account that I really want to dive into, but I just don't have the time to play them all. Titles like Black Myth Wukong, Helldivers 2, Pal World, Enshrouded, Once Human, Space Marine 2. I say that, but I actually finished the campaign because I enjoyed it so much. I think I finished it within 2 days, which is a lot for me. That's good for me. All these games really have captured my attention this year. They are innovative and original. Some of them not original, but they take what we've loved in the past and they've expanded on it with innovation, with passion, with obvious zeal for their gaming. Take Pal World, for example. Everyone loves Pokemon. People enjoy it. I never really got into it myself, but hearing the stories, watching the YouTube videos, everyone has been waiting for a Pokemon game like Pal World. For me, Pal World scratches an itch that a lot of people have been dying to scratch for many years, and this is why Pal World has been successful. Why have you not made a game like this, Nintendo? Who knows?
Because they want to capitalize. Like, the whole pocket monster genre has sort of fallen off. Like, Pokemon is the only ones that do it. And as you can see, Pal World is getting sued for doing it, right? And, like, make no mistake, right? They're not getting sued off of the looks of the pals, right? Where the fuck is a pal? I'm trying to make a point, god damn it. Like, they're not getting sued off the look of the pals. They're getting sued off mechanics, right? That's why they're getting sued. And many companies haven't done this because Nintendo has a 100% success rate on their litigiousness, right? Like a 100% success rate on suing people, right? Or at least making them back the fuck off. Like, and this is why they can just squat on the Pokemon franchise and the what was the genre? The monster, whatever the fuck genre, monster pal genre, and just make worse and worse Pokemon games. And this is coming from someone who's played the last one, right? I played Arceus. And I legitimately liked Arceus. And plenty of people did until they came out with, what was it, Sword and Shield? Which, again, people were like, well, this is just Arceus again. Was it Sword and Shield? I can't. Scarlet and Violet, I think, actually. Yeah, Scarlet and Violet. And it's like, yeah, this is literally just Arceus.
Itch that a lot of people have been dying to scratch for many years, and this is why Pal World has been successful. Why have you not made a game like this, Nintendo? Who knows? You don't like money, apparently. There's other games that I am also looking forward to playing, which I just don't have time for, like Deadlock, or even the DLC for Elden Ring. These games, plus many more, remind me of the creativity and passion that still exist in the gaming world, reigniting my excitement and hope for what is to come, but not from AAA games, AAA companies, or AAA IPs. In an ideal world...
Yeah, again, it's clear that the market wants smaller, concise projects. Like, that people are dodging, like, people are actively running away from AAA games and AAA companies to seek out smaller projects, different ideas, different projects. You know, the type of games that for some reason aren't contenders of Game of the Year this year, like Black Myth Wukong on some sites. Yeah, those are the games people are running to, right? Not this, not a Suicide Squad, right? People are running away from that game. Right? And I will always sing the praises of Warframe because it probably has 10, 20, 30,000 people still playing. That game was made in, what was 2007? Right? Or I think it was 2013, actually. It was made a while ago and it still has an active fan base. And hell, I'm gonna stream it tomorrow. Well, it would probably be today. Or no, it would be yesterday. Look, I make these videos, make a certain number of videos at a time, and I push them out one at a time. You know, you gotta play the algorithm. That's how you'll work YouTube.
We will see the death of Ubisoft, of other big AAA companies eventually. And with this death, I hope that they are able to sell their IPs to other companies that are passionate about gaming.
Ew.
I would love to see Star Wars or
Ew.
Assassin's Creed in the hands of a company that cares about the fans. I think I'm gonna end this video here. I'm planning on doing a part 2 of this, so do subscribe if you're interested in that. But yes, otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, and you know, I hate keep going over the same points, but it's something you really gotta drill home. This is your first video, damn, I'm seeing a bright YouTube future here. On God. You know, feel free to, oh yeah, I forgot, I'm not, no.
Hey everyone, welcome to...
Yeah, hey, watch my videos. I need to get out this hood, please. Just watch my fucking videos. Watch your video on Asmon's stream. Great video. You deserve tons of subs. Mad respect for such a good first video. Yeah. Probably 300. I doubt there's a single person that Amazing Power needs to know. That's something that really scares me. As an indie dev in a small studio, if they win, it'll set a precedent. Yeah. Problem is AAA is no longer ran by gamers, but ran by suits and activists. Yeah, I mean, this is problem number one, is it got popular. The minute it got popular, you get leeches, you get people treating it like just any other business, right? It's not ran by the couple dudes in their mom's basement that just wants to put out a game. It's ran like just any old company mass producing art. And the problem is with games, and you even see this with movies and TV shows, that just doesn't work. This week I came from Pakistan, South Asia, as a kid, and all the way into college. I never had enough money to buy a lot of these games. As my pocket money was limited around those years, I only managed to buy pirated CD. Oh my God. Alright, good for you. Fuck, I keep doing this now.
Hey everyone, welcome.
I keep forgetting I'm not signed in on this. Nice job, man. Gamer Dad here. I know exactly how you feel. Yeah. And again, I think most people sit in this category of gamers, right? And I think this is the type of people they want. They want people that just, you know... Well, no, I don't even think they want the casual gamers, because even they're finding out that why would I spend $70 on shit and on a company that hates me? Like, why wouldn't I just buy indie products? Like, again, like, who's the audience? Like, this is a question you gotta ask a company. Who is Ubisoft's audience? Because it's not gamers. Clearly it's not gamers. The fringe radical ideologues that they try to muster against you, they seldom buy the product. The bots don't exist. They're just programs. They're clearly not buying. Who is buying this shit? I feel like we're living the same life. You summed up just my gaming experience better than I have ever heard explained by anyone else. Yeah, I mean, again, I believe during the golden age of gaming, many people lived his experience. Like, absolutely. Just playing old games and playing good games, having a bomb-ass time. Jams on Steam, on Asmon stream, subbed. But yeah, I mean, this is a good video, and many people, like, we should scream this from the fucking rooftop, right? Why are games nowadays, the majority of games, so ass? It's because they're popular. Go back to a time when games weren't popular, and we'll probably just see better games. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Peace.